Hi, I'm Michael Whalen, and this is the Artist Expansion Podcast. And today we're going to tackle consistency. Consistency is something that all humans really struggle with. And consistency, it kind of sucks. But it's also the key to being successful and meeting your goals in your career. What a lot of artists don't realize is that at the end of the day, this is a marathon and not a sprint. The ironic thing is that in a streaming environment, everything takes longer, not shorter, longer. And this is something that I hear all the time with the people that I coach, at Artist Expansion is, why can't the music just speak for itself? The snarky answer is because it doesn't talk. So your job as an artist is to create a narrative such that people will stop, even for a second, and check out whatever it is you're doing. And then you want to clear out any barrier between you, your music, and the end listener. So at the end of the day, what you want to have is you want to have a really clear shot at creating something, creating a narrative, and then someone's going to be whizzing by on your Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and they're going to go, oh, let me check this out. You could be asking yourself right now, what does this have to do with being consistent? Could be a good question. The answer is, the only way you will have any chance of getting and building a larger audience is by consistently posting on social media, by consistently getting your narrative out there via your newsletter. And let me just take a second with this, because sometimes people argue with me. Mailing lists, emailing lists, I know they're old-fashioned. You're going, oh, Michael's an old guy. I got it. They are still incredibly effective. Mailing lists are incredibly effective. I don't know if you guys noticed in the last presidential election how many emails you got, but that was all mailing lists. It worked for them. So the bottom line is you want to be in a conversation called, how am I going to get my narrative out there? So we've got a couple. Social media, emailing list, your website, could be a group or a page on Facebook, could be your page on Instagram, it could be whatever you're doing on TikTok. And at some point, we'll talk about TikTok. My basic problem with TikTok is that there's no conversion on TikTok. Like there's a lot of passive looking and listening and, oh, hey, that's funny and whatever. But there's no hey, I'm going to make you this offer. Now you're going to take action on this offer. Very little of that. In fact, really none when it comes to music, but we'll talk. So the key with consistency is getting your message out there consistently. So I am not going to tell you how often to post. I'm not going to. I will say that posting on Monday morning, Tuesday morning, Wednesday morning is good. Sunday evening is good. Why? Because that's when people are looking at their phones, their devices, their computers, whatever. And so getting your message out there has a better chance than not. Thursdays and Fridays are strange, especially in the summer, because everyone's moving around. Saturday is Saturday. Sunday morning is Sunday morning. People are doing stuff. They're going to church, whatever. So the bottom line is you don't have an infinite number of times and places that you can get your message out there, but how consistently are you doing it? So pick. How often are you going to post? Once a week? Once a month? 5 times a week? 10 times a week? 30 times a week? Pick. And the key to the whole thing is, if you're going to do it once a week, then do it once a week. If you're going to do it twice a week, then do it twice a week. But if you're going to have 10 posts one week and then none for 3 months, that's not good. That's not good, because then your fans are going, "Oh, I wonder what happened. Did something happen to Michael? What happened to him?" So the key to the whole thing is pick. The second problem with consistency, especially on social media, is, I got to create all this content. It's a thing. Yeah, it's a thing. So let me help you. Everyone who has either no or very little experience with social media has this idea of like, okay, here's what I'm doing today. I'll take a picture of it, click, and then I'll share it today. You don't have to do that. You can share a photo from 5 years ago. You can share a photo from when you were a kid. You can share a photo from when you were in the studio in the 90s or whatever. As long as it helps your narrative. I'm going to say that again even slower. You want to create content. Video is better. Video or pictures that move the needle with your narrative. But that means you kind of need to know what your narrative is, and you need to know what your brand is, and you need to kind of have some idea of like what your ultimate goal is. Like just building numbers to build numbers. You know, as I said in my last podcast, you know, numbers for numbers' sake, money for money's sake, it's not a great way to go. So you should have a clear idea like what your goal is with regard to social media, creating a newsletter. Like I only put out 4 newsletters a year, like once a quarter, once a season. Maybe I'll throw in another one for Grammy time, maybe. I think the key to being consistent is by having whatever the structure is live outside of your head. How does that work? Okay, so I have schedules that live in my computer, and I've got a piece of paper, and I've got stuff, and it's not in my head. Because if I have to remember, hey, it's Monday morning and I've got to have a cool, pithy, social media post, I'm going to forget. That's the way it is. So the key to the whole thing is have structures outside of your head, because your head is not a reliable place for really anything, because there's just too much happening. You'll get distracted. You'll get caught up with stuff, and this happens all the time when I'm talking to people about schedules. Oh, I forgot. Write it down. So sometimes there's some people who use the term existence system. It's a little heavy. But consider the possibility that you could have a schedule, you could have a list, you could have something on a program that you like. There's an entire generation that seems to be on Slack. Great. Whatever empowers you to look at and respond to. Okay, I see my list. Okay, I see what I need to do. Okay, great. So now I'm going to take action on this. Great. What is going to empower you that's going to help you be consistent? And it's a structure that you have to create. You can't go to a coach like me and be like, okay, so what should I do? Because I won't tell you. You've got to create a structure for yourself and then make that structure work. Because if I tell you what to do, then all of a sudden it's a homework assignment that I've given you, versus now I'm actually going to take responsibility for me being a successful person in meeting my goals by being consistent. See how that works? So consistency has to live outside of you. And then you have to choose, how consistent are you going to be with social media, with creating content, with creating music, releasing music. One of the things that's really important right now is releasing music in a consistent way. A single every 3 months. Some people do more than that. Sometimes people release a single a month. It's a little heavy, but okay. But you want to have the algorithm go, okay, yes, you're out there, you're making it happen. Having long periods of time between albums and releases, it's tough. You want to keep some momentum going, and you want to make sure that everyone in your ecosystem knows that you're out there. So you want to keep reminding them by having new material. It can be old material that you've reformatted or remastered or remixed. Sounds great. Consistency. I know. It's the worst. It's the worst word ever. I thought I would tackle it, early in my podcast because you guys would hate it, but it's also so important. Consistency. Consistency is key. Thanks so much.